this like bubble of health. As soon as you go out, it's like pop. And then all these external influences happen. So how do we create the environment that supports our health? Well, yeah, it starts with ourselves, but it also starts with creating that environment by sharing with others, by doing it on your own and through your own example, through lighting your own light, shining that out onto others, and really envisioning, this new earth where everyone has this birthright of being healthy, of feeling free, of feeling prosperous and feeling happy. That is totally a reality that's available to us right now. We just, it's about nurturing that, just like a seed, you nurture it, you plant it, you grow it. That's what we're doing here today. So like she said, it's very, very important work.
Okay, so let's start. So we all have our background, we all align. Me personally, I specialize in Ayurveda, but from a very unique context. Traditional Ayurveda is commercialized. So when something gets commercialized, it loses its authenticity. I come with the angle of detoxification and living food. That angle is true wellness. Everything else is a journey. But when you land on life, you express life. When you are, I'll be a little bit more, I'm going to be very straight with everybody. If you are embodying, taking in the energy of death, you express death. So Ayurveda means the science of life, but it really means the science of biology. So our biology, from the tip of our fingernail to the core of our heartbeat, is responsible for our thoughts, our emotions, and our decisions. So if that's an ancient hypothesis, it's a truth. Science will catch up to that. Science is already understanding genetic memory, muscle memory, biological memory. So our biology is the source of our very thoughts, emotions, decisions. Even the decision to turn your head left or right, or a major decision like, am I going to place my investments in this direction or in this direction? So your minute decisions and your major decisions, both are made by your biology. So it's not mind over matter. Matter is mind. Mind is matter. This is an ancient truth. This explains karma. Karma is not a foo-foo woo-boo or some off, phony physics analysis of cause and effects. That's one dimension. But karma means memory. The memory of your intention, of your desires, of your decisions, and the continuity of your being. The continuity when you go into dream, when you go into deep sleep, and when you wake up. You know you exist because you existed when you were in dreams and your identity was not stable, when you were in deep sleep and you weren't even aware that you existed, but when you come out, you remember you exist. Same way, memory is infinite. So memory is the basis of existence, time. When you eat, now, food is the fundamental principle, not only of health, but of your life. Life is layered with depth and context and meaning. What your personal subjective attachments mean to you don't mean to someone else. Like, not everyone feels so sentimental and so deeply passionate about animals. Some people, an animal is there, and they're like, okay, they just walk along. For someone, it's their life mission. So, health is the fundamental pillar of our existence. But more than that, food is the essence of our existence. We have the whole macrocosm and all its elements. What you put in becomes you. Mm-hmm. And if it is true that your biology thinks, take your worst problem and take your best solution that you can embody. We're all a mixture of both. Realize, if you work on your biology, if you understand this core principle of your biology, you can have a breakthrough right now amongst your worst problems and your greatest solutions. You can experience a breakthrough just by having this understanding, this shift, this cognitive shift. Your existence is what you eat. Your biology is the core of your experience, how you're manifesting reality. So memory, when you slaughter an animal, when the animal is destroyed of its fundamental existence by a will, the suffering, the pain, whether you believe the animals are, I have a lot of clients who are like, I can't believe that the fish is in the ocean just enjoying its day, and then you just ruined its day by catching it and taking it and cutting it up. Well, Ayurveda is very clear. Everything, including us, experience, especially animals, we are just a higher evolution of animal. We have more potential. We have a divine potential. We have more discernment, intelligence, intuition, capacity. A lot of us are just animals, with a little bit of logic. But fundamentally, the animal has a base existence of fear and greed. Base emotions of fear and greed, pain and pleasure. And time is memory. All matter is time, it's memory. When you slaughter an animal, you are inflicting fear and pain. That gets recorded in the muscles, in the genetic tissue. That muscle is linked to the biology. So when I say biology, I mean where life fuels, sparks life in that animal. How it expresses is in the muscles. Like, raise your hand right now. You did that with your muscle memory. But stop your heartbeat right now. You can't. Because the heartbeat is the source of your biology. That we don't have control over. But the muscle we have expression control over. Same way animals do also. There's a force which is operating the animal, which is the source of its biology, source of its life force. That's its bio memory. But then it has its muscle memory. Well, fear and greed, pain and pleasure is bio memory. We're choosing to move our muscles and come here based on some type of fear, some type of greed. We got a job, so we need money, the greed, and we don't want to get fired, so the fear. So the fuel which is operating us is fear and greed, until you evolve to the level of inspiration, which health can do that, which will give you the secrets to do that. Who here would rather run on inspiration than fear and greed? Raise your hand. That's the breakthrough we're looking for. We want to run on inspiration, not fear and greed. Animals live in fear and greed. It's just their nature. It's nothing wrong, nothing bad. It's just their nature. The possibility of inspiration is not evolutionarily possible in an animal. It is in a human being. We can run off just pure life inspiration, causeless expression, causeless creativity, causeless joy. So when you slaughter an animal, you're taking that fundamental emotion of fear and greed, pain and pleasure. Now you're bringing that quality, which is genetically stored. Now, like I said, modern day science is already understanding epigenetics, biomemory, muscle memory. When you take that animal flesh, the muscle memory, and in the core unit of that muscle memory, biomemory is stored in the molecular structure. So you can't cook it out. You can't cook the fear out. You can't cook the greed out. You can't cook the pain out. Naturally, anything happening on the level of emotion has a biochemical expression. It has a hormonal and chemical expression. So right now, if it's just one thought, if I tell you your near and dear one just got sent to the hospital, imagine the adrenaline that would happen in your system. So there is a hormonal and chemical component to fear, pain. So forget if you believe this fear and greed thing or not. There is a hormone, when an animal is slaughtered or killed, or its life cycle, its expansion cycle is stopped, there is a component of fear and greed which is causing, if it's living, it's greed. If it's slaughtered, it's fear. This fear, this anxiety creates the pain. This pain is storing in its biology, in its core biology, and expressing in its muscle memory. You take that in. So what do you think? Right? Life is smarter than we are. So by bringing this in, it's not like we can bring this in and say, oh, no. God, you please, you take the pain. I'll just take the nourishment. It doesn't work like that. So your prayer, your intention is only so strong. It's better than none, right? It's better to be aware. It's a track in the right direction. But to make the breakthrough to pure inspiration, you need to have the prayer, have the intention, but also what's in front of you needs to be of life. So the animal stores the pain, stores the fear. You bring that into the system. There's a hormonal and chemical reaction in your system. Depression, anxiety, cancer, heart disease, blood pressure. These are just some of the mainstream killers in our modern day world. But the list goes on and on and on. So if only 2% of the population right now, I think it was 1, now it's 2. I think Israel, Europe is getting up there. US is picking up a little bit. Affluent areas, cultural areas. Veganism's there. Most vegans relax, just eat processed food. It's still poisonous. So there's really no human beings in the modern world in enough masses to express a natural plant-based diet. So the masses are eating meat. And the masses are all sick. So it's putting 2 and 2 together. If this meat is so nourishing with iron and B12 and protein, then that means the more you eat, the more healthy you should become. Well, okay, there's other factors. But why isn't the meat triggering activeness, triggering the urge for fitness and being outside and breathing clean air and having clean water? No, the animal products trigger laziness, trigger processed food eating, trigger the urge to just sit on TV all day. Now, all things, which, okay, everyone enjoy yourself, but ultimately, if health is your intention, you need to move forward to natural principles. Being outdoors, movement, activity, clean water, clean food, and more loving emotions. So depression. Right now, this country is going through an epidemic in psychological illness. Well, I just said the mind is the body. In Ayurveda, we understand each tissue layer is the substratum of your mind. Each quality of the mind is expressing at its base in the body. That's why if you eat something that doesn't sit right, you can't, you feel like worried, you're not, you're just uneasy, butterflies in the stomach type of thing. Your liver's hot, you're going to be angry. Your lungs are full of mucus, you can't take deep breaths, you're going to be full of grief and depression. So this is all being scientifically proven now, but this has been known for thousands of years. So fundamentally, you take that animal in, you are going to express depression. Ayurveda is very clear. Animal products are tamastic. Tamas is a Sanskrit word for inertia. And how that expresses in the body is dullness. Right? Dullness. So over time, alcohol is tamastic. Right? Anything that's innately poisonous, that makes you withdraw, that makes you tired. Now, some animal products are so high in certain hormones that they're actually stimulating. Ayurveda calls that rajas. Well, the source of all disease is rajas and tamas. Rajas is stimulation. You have your coffee in the morning, you can actually get through the day. Society wouldn't function without coffee. So same way some animals like game, wild game and fish and stuff, they're a little bit more, they give you like more of like a hormonal kick, a steroidal kick. They trigger your adrenal glands, like a stimulant. But Ayurveda says for health you need to be sattvic. Sattvic means energy of pure expression. Plants do not store fear and greed, pain and pleasure. They don't store it. They're just an expression of life. So when you allow a plant to ripe and you consume it, you're just getting the energetics. The very emotional component and the pain and pleasure is they haven't evolved a muscle memory system. So plants, by very nature, minerals, plants, by very nature, do not store pain. So when you eat a plant, there's some poisonous plants. So there are some tamasic plants, but there's also some sattvic plants. Anything sattvic is nourishing. So plants, by its very nature, the whole tree. You have the roots, you have the trunk, you have the stem, you have the leaf, you have the flower, you have the fruit, you have the seed, you have the nut. The plant, by its very nature, it does not store pain. So when you consume that, you only get the energetic component. So if that plant is a nourishing plant, you get nourished. If it's a poisonous plant, you're going to get poisoned. But the component of pain and pleasure is not transmitted. So if you want your biology to live, eat life. Your stomach is not a graveyard. If you want to make a quantum shift in your reality, and this idea that you need to gradually get off meat may or may not be true for some people, but be very real with yourself. How much of your quote-unquote meat eating and processed food eating is coming out of necessity? Even if you believe in your heart that you need some sustenance from it. Do your research, understand this is the basic point. It is the principle of non-violence. When you take an animal product, it is violent to the expansion and expression of your nature. That violence gets recorded. So I'm going to end my segment by saying that you want to experience life, eat life. Your biology is the source of your life, of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, your decisions, your will. So put life to express life. That's the essence of what I just concluded, and then we'll turn it over.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think the essence of shifting your life is to know you are worthy. That worthiness and knowing we are worthy of health and to feel good is what motivates us every single decision to choose nourishment and choose life. So it goes so much deeper than just the food in front of us. It has to be like a wholesome self-love. And that is a cycle because the wholesome self-love starts with what you eat. Mindful eating, it changes your whole relationship with not only food, but with the entire earth. Because when you're present with your food, you're not seeing this narrow tunnel of just the meal on your plate. You're really feeling the energy of all of the elements that go into making your food and all of the love, like how loved we are, that we are provided so many species of delicious, abundant plants that grow amazingly with barely anything. Like, you just feel so loved. And when you feel that love, you feel that self-love, and it's just this wonderful cycle. But it starts with being present with what's right in front of you. America especially, we're just so disconnected to mealtime and like treating it as a ceremony. We're just rushing and going and going. And there's family time and dinner, but like there's also cell phones, or there's also tons of talking, like over talking, and we're not even focusing on like what is in front of you, what is nourishing you. A life-changing practice has been just to, first of all, pray. Like, every single time you eat or drink, like just send a prayer and send a blessing into what you're about to consume, because you're blessing yourself, and it's so fulfilling, and it's actually scientifically changing the structure of everything you consume, because words are energy, words are matter, we're very powerful beings. Our words and our thoughts, anything that we put into our food and drink is going straight into us. So having that prayer and that collective prayer, if you're eating with each other, is so blissful, and I would love to do that today when we eat. And then also, chewing. Like, chewing is life-changing. Just closing your eyes and every bite just chewing until it's liquid. And that way you taste everything, and you feel so much more grateful for the meal at the end, because you really paid attention to the entire process. Not only do you taste more, but you digest it better. All the enzymes in our mouth do their thing, so we feel that flow go through us. You can visualize the energy and the nutrients of the food go to where they need to go and go to our cells. We also taste it, we digest it better, and we receive the nutrients better. So chewing is so amazing. My grandma always used to tell me when I was little to chew each bite 30 times, and I thought that was insane until I woke up, and I just started really doing that and just sitting by myself and chewing. And it really changed food for me completely. And when you're full too, you don't overeat and indulge, because you're taking your time, and you know exactly where it's meant to be. You're like, all right, I am done now. You can really honor that. Chewing and silence. We tend to either do things while we're eating, either watch the TV or move around or be on our phone, but we also all tend to talk, which is a very beautiful thing. But there's other times to talk, and in America we have established our going out to eat and our mealtime as our social time, rather than mealtime is our time to build a relationship with our food and build a relationship with prayer and silence. Eating in silence together is even more bonding. You bond with each other's energetic fields, and you don't have to force talking. Every time I go out to eat with my mom, I'm trying to do my thing and be in silence, and she's just trying to talk every single bite, and I feel it's an uncomfortableness with silence. She doesn't want us to be silent. I always say we can actually bond in a more beautiful way in that silence, because we can just be. We don't have to force anything. We don't have to talk about things we don't need to talk about right now. So I also love to practice that today for a little, and really feel the essence of what it means to eat a meal in a ceremony. That's the essence of mindful eating, I would say, is prayer, gratitude, chewing, silence. And I would love to practice all of that. We're going to have a little workshop after this, teaching a little more in depth about food combination and all about eating raw foods. The food combination is a super important thing, how to get your adequate nutrition and get creative with whole foods, so we don't always go to the easy processed foods. And we can make a quick, easy meal with whole foods, and it's still going to be delicious and satisfying and filling. So we will get to that workshop, and then we'll eat lunch together. Thank you so much for listening.
Wow. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between intuitive eating and instinctual eating. Because a lot of people will say that they're being very intuitive when they feel like they need to eat bread or they need to eat meat. It's my body was telling me that I need this steak, right? I hear that a lot. I need to be grounded, And so there's a big difference, and there's ways to get closer and closer to your intuition. It's not just something that happens because you thought it and you will it. Just like detoxifying, just like cleansing, just like eating more healthy. It's not a quick fix. We're so used to instant gratification. We think we're going to be healthy in a week. That's not it at all. It definitely takes years, and it takes steps. And so you don't crave things that aren't already in your body. And that's what we don't realize. We do not eliminate everything that we take in, right? We hold on to things. And things like candida, things like these kind of, little bacteria that live in our body help us to digest our food, right? That's why probiotics have gotten so big, and things like kombucha and stuff like that, because by bringing in the good bacteria, it helps eat the food for us. It helps us in that process of converting that matter into our cells and then eliminating what doesn't serve us. And so this, what we have stored in our cells hasn't fully eliminated. And this causes cravings for more of the same, right? And so because we have residual gluten, residual starch, residual meat in our bodies, then we crave it more. And that's how the microbes continue to live too, right? So we're not just, we are co-creating with the bacteria in our body, which I actually think our bodies are like close to 80% bacteria, more than human. Like we're 80% microbes. And so we're co-creating our consciousness with these microbes. I firmly believe that, and there's a lot of science to back that up. And so these cravings that we call intuition, okay, we need to see beyond. It's like not all that glitters is gold. So much in life, we have to look beyond what seems to be the truth. We have to dig a little deeper. So like when we get a craving, that's like a thought, and that's like how we began to do in our meditation today. A thought comes up, and then we witness it for what it is. A craving comes up, we witness it for what it is. Oh, is that coming from truth? I wonder. And one of the ways to powerfully do this, right, is to go on a cleanse, is to start the detoxification process. Because like I said, if it's no longer in your body, then you're less likely to crave it. So what we teach a whole pyramid of kind of like steps of detoxification. And so he started with the first, which is the processed food and the meats, okay? Those are the first things that you want to eliminate, to allow your body to go through its natural cleansing process, for the digestion that was going towards that hard to digest food to go towards your own healing, okay? So you'll notice, if you don't believe me, just try it out. 3 days, 1 day, 2 day, and just notice your energy, and you might have all of this, and then you start using that for like these projects that you never got to, and this like creativity that you didn't know you had, right? All that excess energy of digestion. And then we go further up on this ladder, on this pyramid, and we start to eliminate the really like processed starches, things like crackers, breads, pastas, things like this. We go up even further, so that would be like whole foods, plant-based, meaning we're eating pretty much things that come out of the ground, right, whether they're cooked or not. And then to go even further, we get onto the living foods, to the raw foods, to the uncooked foods. And so a lot of people wonder, well, how do you cook a potato? Like, where are we meant to eat a potato? Well, this is, a potato serves us on a certain level, right? And it gives us that nourishment. But if we want to cleanse, right, if the goal is to cleanse and to kind of get into this higher level of healing, then what we find is that by eating a raw diet, then we bring in a lot more water into our body. Rather than it being dehydrating, it's extremely hydrating because the water is in the food that we're eating, and it's structurized, like she was saying, it's grown that way. And then even in raw food, there's like different levels. If anyone's been to one of these raw food restaurants, you have like the cheesecakes, those rich, delicious cashew cheesecakes, with their cacao dressing and all of that. And so that's a certain level. But then when you start going further, you go on to more of like a clean raw food diet, where you're just eating it out of the ground as it grew out the ground, as it came out the ground. So things like fruits, vegetables, salads, with dressings, and then sort of dropping the dressings, and then you have your juice cleanses further up and things like this. So you kind of work your way up the ladder, and one of the ways to work up the ladder is to sort of jump a few levels, just for a short period of time. That's why we call it a cleanse. You sort of jump. So if you're eating processed food, if you're eating meat, and then you go, you jump to a whole foods plant-based diet, I guess that would be the next level up. So let's say you go on a raw food cleanse, right? You go on a 3-day raw food cleanse. And then when you get off the raw food cleanse, you'll notice, because of the change in your microbes and the change of what's in your body, because you detox, that means to eliminate, right, and move the lymphatic system, you'll notice that your cravings are totally different. Totally, totally, totally different. And if you go even further and do a juice cleanse, you know, that's when you really start to notice. It's like, can I please just have a salad? Like, that's all I want is a salad, you know? Where before, you're like, salad, you know, I want pasta, like I want real food, right? And so it's all about changing that taste buds, and so much about what we eat is emotional and social, you know, so we gotta, that's another way of like seeing that craving, seeing that thought and being like, is that really like an emotion that I'm trying to stuff down, cover, or deal with in some way? You know, that is huge. You know, and then the social aspect too, the social and emotional go hand in hand. So, you know, when you get a craving, you can be like, well, am I bored? You know, am I upset? Am I trying to escape this reality that I'm in? These are things that come up. And they, by fasting, by cleansing, you can deal with them head on and build those muscles so that then later, when you go out into the real world, we're coming up into the holidays, right? So all the temptation is going to be available. So the challenge is there, right? You can either pick this bowl of food or that side of the table or this side of the table, you know, and it's all you. You know, it's easy to blame, oh, she made that and this and that. But, you know, it really is just you know, being able to choose what serves you and what doesn't. And so cleanses give us that real intuition to be able to discern what is the foods that are going to serve us, that are going to nourish us, tuning into our body to see, you know, how's my digestion today? Is it really strong? Maybe I should really just eat on the lighter side, you know? If we're not aware, how are we going to know? So being aware of ourselves first and foremost. From that center, then we can choose what we are, what we eat, you know? So choose what we are going to become through our food. And knowing that food is our medicine, you know, really taking that power back, knowing that we can heal ourselves through, you know, the quality of the food that we consume, the types of food that we consume, you know, sort of that ladder that I talked about of how we can really be hydrated and alkalized and balanced, you know, and have that as our foundation all of the time, you know, but it's a journey. Takes years. It really does. So if you're just starting out on this, you know, just know that it's not a quick fix type of thing at all. You gain skills, you gain preparation is everything. That's why this aspect of how to make it is so important, because if you have just junk food in the house, then what are you gonna, you know, so your environment is stronger than your will, actually. So if you're hungry, right, and there's only crap in the cupboards, what are you going to go for? You know, it's like 9 times out of 10, you know. But if you're prepared, if you have your, you know, your different vegetables already chopped up in their different containers, you know, if you went out and got bulk fruit, and you went out and you made salad dressings for the week, and you prepared soup, you know, then you, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Now you don't even have to think. You know, it's already there. This is all of these factors tie in. So it's not just one thing solves all. This is a holistic practice, a mindfulness practice, really. You know, where we were never taught to be mindful with our food. We were taught that food is like the last thing you should worry about. That it's not important. You know, oh, it's just food. You know, it's just something that we do for fun, I guess. But really, it is the base, like he was saying, it's the base of your health, and it really is, in many ways, the base of your consciousness. And when I was really trying to change and better myself, I first started through yoga and meditation, you know, and so that, but when I got a lot of blocks in that, when I started to change the food, it was like an instant. It is just, you feel it viscerally. You feel it in your body. And so I just want to inspire and encourage us all to just remember that always, you know, that we are what we eat. Food is our medicine. And the closer we go to nature, you know, the closer we are to treating our body as a temple and not as like, you know, a car that we wait till it's like not working to work on it, you know. So.
Any questions? Questions? Questions?
Do you eat completely raw, or do you kind of go back and forth? Like,
No, see, it's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
At this point, you understand. I've never met a human being that goes hard at detoxification, because detoxification is a catabolic experience. You're breaking cells down. You're breaking the toxic cells down. But in today's day and age, our ecosystem and our culture makes it very, not, I don't even want to say it makes it difficult, it's not conducive to just go at it and completely rejuvenate the body. And it's the only way. There's only one way to rejuvenate the body. So you see all these off methods of therapy. They're great when they come together with detoxification, because detoxification, there's two sides of life. There's anabolic, there's catabolic. There's masculine, there's feminine. There's healing and there's hurt, right? There's pain and there's pleasure. There's good and there's bad. There's love and there's hate. So detoxification is a catabolic experience. Building tissue, nourishing tissue, is a anabolic experience, but it's more masculine. Cleansing is like for a lady being on your menstrual, and men have menstrual cycles too, according to Ayurveda. The symptoms are way more subtle. Everyone knows guys get moody, and that's the problem. They just don't know, right? So the psychiatrics are getting all the kickback, but really, you know, you can just deal with it if you knew. But anyways, when you're in, according to Ayurveda, there's a current called apana. Apana is the downward current. It's an eliminative current. So it's kind of like when you're sick, you don't feel well, and that's a natural form of detoxification. Like when you're sick, you don't have an appetite. Unfortunately, we suppress it, but that's a different subject. It's just, you just feel mellow. You don't feel that hyperactivity. You don't feel like you want to do. You just want to be. So detoxification requires the hardcore to go at it. Now, I find in this ecosystem, you have to be intelligent. You cannot think you're going to detoxify your body in 3 days, 10 days, 3 weeks. No way. You can reset to a degree certain tissue layers. That's about it. But a full reset of the body, and there's genetics, which genetics just means you are what you eat. So if your ancestors were eating a certain way, and your grandparents were eating a certain way, they had a certain lifestyle, we're all neurologically patterned through conditioning. So naturally, you're gonna eat the same way, talk the same way. They gave you your language, for crying out loud, right? You're gonna have the same emotions because they just vomited them all on you. And then so you're gonna express the same lifestyle and behavior and all that. So, and eating patterns, specifically eating patterns. So, your genetics just means you are what you eat. Well, considering our genetics, considering so many factors, how toxic our environment is, because it's very toxic, to just go at a full catabolic experience is not always safe, you know. So, and it's a very emotional time because you're cleansing your emotional body as well of the emotional toxins. Your external reality, you'll find when you put in these higher frequency cleansing foods, you don't tolerate that negative person that you left in your life because you suffer with insecurity. Oh, I'm gonna let myself get beat down because they provide a pseudo sense of security. Well, now you just don't care anymore. Now you're just ferocious because you're raw again. You're expressing life. So you're just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do what serves my higher purpose, because now you're clear. You can connect to that feminine energy that just knows, it's just intelligent. It doesn't logically scrutinized. So this is very abstract from today's day and age. So you be intelligent, right? You go hard when you can, and then you break up when you need to. Now, if you're dealing with something serious, you know, you're gonna die anyway, right? If you continue down a certain path. So then it's time to say, okay, I gotta take care of business. I have to do what I have to do. And you bunker down, and you take 3 months, you take 6 months, you take a year. It takes a year for every cell in the body to become new. But you carry the same patterns, mental patterns, neurological patterns, genetic conditioning, lifetime after lifetime, but you carry it over specifically what you're programmed at a young age. You carry that over for 12 years, 24 years. These are higher life cycles. These are solar cycles. So these patterns are the problem. So the body, you can sit in full detoxification for 1 year. You can fast for 1 year. You can put the right herbs in the body for 1 year. But it takes the average person about 12 years to break the patterns which are causing the dis-ease, the imbalance in the first place. So you be intelligent, and you know what's your, so basically I have a spectrum. You have a spectrum from A to Z, but then you have levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the spectrum you're at, you understand what foods move your health forward. And you play in that spectrum, you rise on that spectrum. But then understand, once you've mastered that spectrum, now you're in a new level. So in this new level, now you're on a new spectrum. So it's being able to play with that spectrum, and you can jump your spectrum, but that's not the level you exist in. So maybe you're playing on level 3, but your mental, your psychological patterns are actually on level 1. You can't handle that level of consciousness. It's too high. So your diet is reflective of that. So you're on level 3 consciousness, intelligence. Your level 3 consciousness, your intelligence can't handle that. Your mind can't handle that. Your emotional body can't handle that. So you go to level 1 and you master that spectrum where your emotions and your mind and your patterns can actually digest and assimilate that life experience, and then you move to level 2. So where now your new balance point is different. So it's an ability to play with different thresholds on different spectrums and naturally get yourself to higher levels, because your evolution, your consciousness, your intelligence is directly impacted by your diet. So it's an intelligent process. So I've never seen someone who just goes and doesn't stop. It's very rare. So you play on the spectrum, maybe you balance out, and then when you're ready, you go a little deeper on that spectrum. Then when you master that spectrum, you go to the next level. And then what could be healthy for somebody could be poison for somebody else. So it all depends, but genuinely, you understand. Fruits are your highest vibrations. Herbs have the highest intelligence, medicinal intelligence. Your vegetables and cooking process, these all bring the frequency down. This is basic physics. It brings a frequency down. And so it's one thing to just eat fruit for breakfast, but it's another thing to live on fruit for 12 years. To be able to live on fruit for 12 years, you need a very high consciousness. But to heal, you might need to do a fruit fast for 4 to 6 months, and then balance out on salads, and then eventually balance out on some cooked vegetables. And your grains have a slightly lower consciousness. They dehydrate the body. Yeah, they're nourishing to the spectrum and degree you're at. So if you're used to McDonald's, some quinoa is going to be very cleansing for you. But if you got used to salads and higher raw foods, and you might need to be at that level to heal and regenerate, then going to eat quinoa may just completely clog your channels of your body up, stop the lymphatic system. So I think the essence of this segment is understand your patterns, understand your emotions, understand your psychology, and realize that this is layered and level, and have a life. this is a lifestyle. I just tell people, drop the meat, drop the processed food, because that's just not our natural diet. Animal products, that includes eggs, that includes fish. Eggs have, I know that one hurts, but eggs and dairy.
The one that hurts.
And see, these all have animal genetic potential, so it plays with that fear and the muscle memory. Fundamentally, it just clogs our body up. And so if you just want to just have general health, a general baseline, and this is, I've studied Chinese, Tibetan, Taoist, herbal, Ayurvedic, and all the raw, more traditional, more authentic side of the spectrum, and even Amazonian and indigenous tribal mentality on diet. They talk a lot about the elements and whatnot. It's very clear that you need to, fasting is a natural principle. Eating off the land is a natural principle. And I'm not arguing that ancient men didn't eat meat, but I will say that for beings who want to explore their higher potential, no way. So evolved beings never. So if you think you're the descendant of a caveman, I feel bad for you. If you know you're of divine heritage, I like you. Because, all right, is your primal instinct to kill, or is it to love? I think it's to love. So understand your history may not be fully factual. You need to really open your mind and consciousness to new ideas to be able to shift your diet. I will say, and she mentioned it, social and emotional bondage when it comes, environmental bondage when it comes to your diet. We're talking about your life here. See, I always tell this to all my clients. If you are very comfortable eating at a restaurant, be very comfortable in a hospital. The food industry and the medical industry is one and the same. They're not two different entities. Anything that is fundamentally for profit is fundamentally exploitative by cunning nature. So it's a blind spot. I'm not saying that your doctor and your family member who may work at a food industry, maybe you're someone someone owns a restaurant. I'm not saying their intention is to damage you. No, it's a blind spot. It's a unawareness. You made so many decisions that direction. To just go back it shatters the very fabric of your reality. So, look, understand, if you have a serious health issue, break your mental paradigms, go and cleanse your body, come back to nature. And also establish your balance point, but life is for expansion. Expansion is life. So constantly be authentic with yourself. Constantly move forward. Don't get complacent. Complacency breeds laziness. Laziness breeds your ability to not be true to yourself. You start to believe your own lies. So it's a process. So us personally, we establish on plant-based, we've evolved. It depends on how long, and it depends on so many other factors, like how intense is our yoga practice or meditation practice. But generally, no question of processed food and meat, like I said, and animal products. Well, look, here's another point. We're not built like a carnivore, in no way, shape, or form. And the best science is using this point to discern plant-based eating as our natural diet. We went to meat because of scarcity, dependency. We didn't go to meat and then it just became, look, doctors in the 1950s were puffing on cigarettes and telling you to smoke. Athletes were promoting. Doctors say you gotta relax. You could smoke on an airplane. Now it's the last thing. If someone thinks of ill health, they think of a cigarette smoker. If you think of lung cancer, you think of cancer, you think of someone who smokes cigarettes. There was a time when that was promoted as health. So we gotta realize our cultural conditioning does not serve us. Only our common sense and nature's laws serve us eternally. So we're not built to, so if you think we came from cavemen and we're designed to eat a paleo diet, well, say goodbye to any form of, and there's a lot of health out there, right? And a lot of authority. right? That people claim authority on these health movements, but they're all fads. They don't stand the test of time. They don't have an ancient tradition behind them, right? So anyone who just picks up a fad, I'm not saying it's bad or good, but what I'm saying is, what's the authenticity? So our nails, we don't have sharp claws. Our teeth, we don't have fangs. We don't have a 1 or 2 pH stomach acid that can break down bone. We don't have a short GI tract. We don't not sweat through our body and just sweat through our mouth. This is a carnivore. We're not a herbivore. We don't have 4 stomachs and huge GI tract and teeth that are all grinders. We're very gentle creatures. We're meant to just pluck and eat. We don't have any violent senses. You'll know, and if you've never experienced this, and it's new, so you have to break your confines of the known, and the only way you expand is to break the confines of the known. You need to explore the new. Fear, the fundamental principle of fear, is not being able to trust the unknown. So when you do something new, invoke excitement. It's exciting. It could be fearful, but it can also be exciting. It's your decision. So it's new, and yeah. Any other questions? And I'll let her take it.
What is actually processed food? Anything in a box or in a can? Is that what's really called a processed food?
There's, like you said, a spectrum on that, and we were taught to look at nutrition facts,
Yeah,
and that doesn't really
No.
tell us, not at all. Ingredients is what you need to be looking at, and if there's ever an ingredient that it's like sodium bicarbonate 8, something like that, or a lot of these fillers, a lot of these preservatives that you find. Nowadays it's interesting. I mean, you can find some Whole Foods in Whole Foods, right? In health food stores. You can get closer to its natural state. Definitely switch to going to more health food stores because the options are more diverse and better quality. It depends, but for the most part, yeah, things in boxes, things in packages.
Anything that says all natural, organic, non-GMO, gluten-free is processed.
Oh,
It turns to glue in the body. Remember, gluten turns to glue. Any oil that's cooked turns to plastic in your liver, petroleum. So
if it says,
if it's refined flour
oh yeah,
or refined sugar or any form of like GMO wheat, corn, soy product that's been processed, anything that's been refined, anything that's gone through a refinement process is processed. So just because it says all natural, organic, gluten-free, non-GMO,
And pasteurized too.
pasteurized, glow in the dark. Okay, so make sure that you realize that's processed. Now, if you're just struggling to transition to just produce things that actually anything that grains, not white rice is practically processed nowadays, but whole grains, things like that. They're like if you're just trying to transition out, you can do a little bit of that. If you do it in over moderation, it's just going to trigger the starch and the candida, and it's going to make you go back to white stuff. But if you need to, white potatoes nowadays is practically processed. But just understand, generally anything that's a natural produce is natural. Anything that is boxed is generally not. There are some exceptions, but be very weary. You will feel pretty dead.
For
when you eat it.
example, now they're coming out with like a lot of raw food snacks, and they really don't have any preservatives in there. They're really made with a lot of whole ingredients and not overly pasteurized and processed. So that's an example of something that's in a bag or in a box that is still pretty conducive. It's not going to take you so far out that it's hard to get back on. And then that's the thing with this is that time. That time is something that we need to be aware of simply because when we like I said, it takes time to really reset your body and get back to its natural settings. So when we go off, that's like, it's like starting over again, and so it's kind of like we made progress, take 2 steps and then take 4 steps back kind of thing. So it's very, you want to be very mindful with the level of toxicities that you go as far as all of these ready-made, ready-to-eat foods.
What is your opinion about the new popular plant-based burgers that are everywhere, and everybody's coming out with them?
It's a transition food, and look, I'd rather stick like plastic and glue and some weird soy thing than a dead flesh. I mean, that's just me. But that is what it is. So if you're really interested, if you need to reset your system, don't touch it. But if if you're interested in just transitioning gently, and it's something you feel like you need to do, it's better than flesh. It's not a dead, it's not dead flesh. There's no blood and pus and the bacterial component in that is not the same, but it's fundamentally overly processed.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about that spectrum.
That was
Wait, she was first.
Yeah, that was me. So if you categorize, so what would be the best as far as natural eating? Is it fruits? Is it vegetables?
Well, it all depends, right? So
Depend on what?
you, like, for example, if you eat a lot of grains and then you eat fruit right after, it's gonna ferment. So it's simple, but it's also a little complex. Initially, if you're off the deep end eating processed everything, a lot of flesh, just get natural things in your body. Your digestion will be happy. But as you get a little bit more refined, you start the day with the highest vibration, highest water content. Fruit is the best. Try to get the best quality fruit, not necessarily whether it's organic or not, because it's not always labeled. Look for quality. Taste, it's got to taste right. Like, I've seen organic stuff be sour, it's just always unripe, and I've seen conventional stuff that tastes fine. And yeah, there's a little bit of hybridizing in fruit, but the nature of fruit is water. It's astringent. It's cleansing. So you always want to start the day in that mode, and then build up. Then you can have like your salads and green leafy things, and then if you need to cook some, maybe your steamed vegetables. And if you can't handle that, then you can throw some grains in, and maybe some beans in. So how do you classify it? Now, if you reverse it, then that could be dangerous, right? You start your day with like a quinoa pancake, and then you go. That's not smart, because then you have fruit later, or you have salad later. One is moving through your digestive tract really slow and clogging and acidifying your lymphatic system, creating a bunch of mucus. And then you're throwing a salad in there, which is going to move faster. And then you're going to throw fruit in on top, which is just going to sit there. You got to be intelligent. So it's more about the order you eat, because the same fruit eaten on an empty stomach is going to cleanse your system, hydrate your system, alkalize your system. The same fruit, if it's eaten after, say, a grain. If I ate grains for breakfast, I'm probably going to fast all day. Just let that burn out. Yeah.
So technically, fruits for breakfast, long digestive for lunch, and at night you have salad.
I guess I'm just saying you can't say one food's better than the other. It's circumstantial.
Right.
More so than better, I would say cleansing. So like he was talking about the speed. Fruit is like a race car as it goes through the highway of your digestion system, and then vegetables go a little slower, and then when you cook them, it goes slower, and then starches go slower, and then processed food goes slower, and then meat goes slower.
I also read something about that when you juice, you shouldn't mix fruit and vegetables together. Is that true? Is that something that's a base, or
in general, right? Generally, everything has its own code. So when you start mixing anything, we're simple. If we live natural, we live the simple lifestyle, and you're in a very clean body, you would just want to take one thing at a time. actually even Tibetan monks that live in like the mountains and they cultivate their own bread, they know if they make bread that day, I'm not promoting it, but again, they grow their own grain and they live far from agriculture. If they eat the bread, they eat it alone. Generally, mixing foods is not something that is health conscious. It's a very much a thing of social, and it's I should say conditioning, that we need to feast and have a variety of flavors. You know, the key principle in Ayurveda is longevity comes through discipline. If you understand something, if you do something for its taste, if taste is your priority, then, and not what you know is right, what you know is going to give you vitality. If you choose taste over vitality, you're not going to have longevity. You're not going to live very long. Basically, you're choosing pleasure over authenticity, over what's right. Sometimes they meet together, right? But ultimately, if we were simple, we would just take one food at a time and let the body fully break that down. Our bodies are best equipped to eat one similar type of food, family of food together.
Yeah.
So, but generally, if you're used to, for breakfast, pancakes, and see, I would like to say something. This is new and she was talking. Yeah, I'll wrap it up. It's funny, when it comes to like healthy things, we have all the questions. We're so analytical, and we want to know the background, and we want to know all the scientific studies. But if someone offers you some garbage, you don't even think twice. No, like we don't think like that, right? Like, oh, but when we have to change our lifestyle, I want to be so sure that I'm on the best health regimen. But yesterday they just offered you some weird cookie or some ice cream. Oh, did you ask what was in there? No. So that's it.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure, but we might touch on the raw food workshop about a little bit more about food combining. You know, because there is something there. You know, fruits tend to go with leafy greens more than vegetables, other kinds of vegetables, and certain fruits combine better than other fruits. And usually this is something that you learn further on the detox process, because usually just eating natural, it doesn't matter. You know, you're just eating natural, so you're just going to start to feel better. But as you go further, then you start to notice the subtle differences. So there is something there, but generally leafy greens, which is like kale, spinach, and those sort of things with fruit, digest well together.
And certain fruits don't, like bananas and dates and dried fruit does not really mix well with citrus.
Right.
But apples and pears and peaches, like that mixes well with both sweet fruits and
Or
citrus. Depends. All right, cool.
So you can lead us in.
Yeah, so we have the vegan food demo coming up. We prepared a lot, but we're gonna teach you like how to make this meal we're making. It's a raw vegan kelp noodle pad thai. Yeah. And we also made a raw vegan coconut ceviche. So instead of fish, the ceviche part, the fish is hearts of palm and coconut. And we'll talk about how we made that too, but they're all super alkaline, light, and nourishing to your cells, and very fulfilling. So I have my table set up here. She said we can bring the tables in if that's needed, but I don't want you guys to have to stay here.
Yeah, would anybody prefer if the vegan tables come in the barn?
Or we can
Don't be shy, we'll move them in.
Well, yeah, we should.
Let's just move these chairs.